What's up, Gaston? Spy 442. I'm still waiting for it, guy. It's not happening. What's up, Sis? What's up, PW? Andy made your day. Well, I'm glad you made your day. I mean, there wasn't much selection that could have made your day today, but I'm glad AMD was one of them. Shiba, that thing is just going out of control. I don't know what's going on with that. Literally is out of control, and I know Tom has probably a bunch of it. This guy with a robot. Better? Should be better. Better? I think we're good now. I sound like Siri. Got drunk. Appreciate that, Emily. Appreciate it. Well, hopefully you guys had a good day. Tom, if you have another problem, let me know. I'll check it out. But hopefully you guys had a good day today. Today was a little bit strange of a day. We saw tech up so much, and then at the same time, we literally saw Apple just literally flat. We saw Facebook like literally flat and then sell off at the end of the day. Then we also saw Netflix kind of slightly red. So a very strange day as far as tech. We're good. Testing, testing. Hello, hello. Testing, testing, testing. All right, I'm good. Okay, I'm about to say what's going on here. All right, so again, hopefully you guys had a good day. Really weird from the tech sector. We saw Apple, Facebook, and Netflix pretty much horrible, and then we just literally see Google, Amazon just popped up out of nowhere to join the party. Well, Google and Microsoft literally led the entire way. I think if you chased Google or Microsoft on the way up, it was just amazing. You literally had a free scalp right there. But it was kind of disappointing seeing how Amazon, Netflix, and Apple, they didn't even have any kind of life whatsoever. But then Amazon just came out of nowhere and popped up over 20 something dollars. So hopefully you caught that one midday. I know that Dapper mentioned it. I believe Julian was also mentioning Amazon as well. So that was a beautiful move today. We did have some nice rapids that went off today. I know that that actually went off quite a bit, to be honest with you. I know that there was one that was NVIDIA. That was a beautiful one. Actually, quite a bit. IBM went off, NVIDIA, AFRM, AMD, Google, and Microsoft. So the Google and Microsoft and AMD was a given. Those three coming off of earnings. AFRM, I'm not certain if that one actually paid or not. I'll look at the chart. NVIDIA was a beautiful one. I know that Avery was all over that one. And then IBM, pretty much Tom was all over that one, trying to make sure that it would hit the 10%. And we got a nice little run towards the end of the day. So it did go over that 10% mark. So that was a beautiful one. But I think the Rapids and pretty much those three tech stocks that I highlighted, AMD, Google, and Microsoft, were really the highlight of the day. Everything else, the market makers pretty much kept it red to flat. And so there wasn't movement in the other side of the market. So you had to be very selective today. If you picked the wrong stock, you pretty much either bled out or theta pretty much got to you when you got out of the money calls. So hopefully tomorrow's going to be a better day. Looking at tomorrow is kind of, I'm waiting to see if we're going to get any kind of rotation of some sort. What I'm expecting is to see Amazon lead the way because they are going to have earnings tomorrow evening. So I expect a massive run out of Amazon tomorrow. Google, I expect a continuous run. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 3,000 on Google tomorrow. So that would be a beautiful continuation. And then I think Microsoft would also be the one. If it did continue, I did see flow coming in for 330 on Microsoft. So if that had any more legs left in the run, that would be the 330 mark that everyone's targeting. So those would be the three names I think will probably lead the market. Now, as far as the rest of the market, I do want to see some kind of momentum pick up because As we saw, everything was pretty much red. The rest of the tech sector was just red. We saw a lot of the other sectors, banks were pretty much flat to red. So we want to see movement. I know that energy was also stalling because we didn't hear Tamakaze actually say something was mooning on live today. So that usually means that industrials and energy is not mooning when you hear Tom just being silent. So hopefully that will actually have some kind of red, well, green day tomorrow, and we can get some kind of follow through on those movements because I would hate to see a pump and dump tomorrow in which we just gap up and then everything just dies out while we just see the main three players just pretty much mooning Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. But my watch list is pretty short tonight because the only reason is I do want to see what's that rotation tomorrow morning because I want to see are we going to hold up the rest of the tech sector while those three names just push? Are we going to end up seeing the banks push? What's really going to be that second movement behind those three names in the tech sector? But looking at S&P futures here, we do have a little bit of an ascending, expanding wedge. And so I'm going to look to see if we hold support here. Now, I did get an illustration that I was just going to pop in here on the chart so you actually see what that diagram actually looks like. And there we go. So now, if you look at this diagram and you look at the pattern that I actually drew out physically, you can see what the formations are. And so you can see the projected movement of what we're looking for. So we're looking to hold this support level at the letter F, and we want to see that uptrend right up to the resistance. And then once we get up to the resistance, then likely, if this does play out as projected, then that would mean that possibly Monday going into Tuesday, that we're going to see a pullback on the halfway back of this leg going up. So I will keep my eyes on this one, but if we end up breaking the support, then that's going to be a different story. And so now we're going to end up in what I would say is my demand zone right now. As we saw going back to August, this has really been a chop zone being a support or resistance. And so I want to see us hold this level. Again, that ranges, and I did mention it yesterday. We want to hold 45.29 and we want to hold support of 45.16. So within that range, you see that shaded area. I want to see us actually hold, and then buyers should step into that demand zone to get us a lift back up towards the upside. If we end up losing that, then I'm looking at my fib at 44.88, and then we could see further downside from that standpoint. All right. But I am looking for support to hold here, so that's really what's going to be key as we see futures pretty much so slightly green to flat. We can easily flip on that, but I'll look to see what that support line really does by the morning. That's what I'll be monitoring. All right. Flipping over Nasdaq, what I actually drew out, and I didn't realize this pretty much until the end of the day on a larger time frame because I was too busy charting out a rising wedge on like the 3 to 5 minute. But we do actually have a rising wedge on the 4 hour, and so I'm gonna look to also see if we hold this support level as well. So that's gonna be a key support level looking at Nasdaq futures. Now looking in intraday, if I go into the 5 minute, I think the 5 minutes is manageable here. What we ended up doing is we ended up pushing very steeply and then a hard retrace. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up creating a support level here. And as you saw intraday there, we had a nice little wedge that I created. And so we just popped right out of the wedge. That was right out the gate. And we just flew. And why is this here for? And so once we ended up pulling back, this was the key level of support. You probably heard Dapper and also Julian mentioning this was their key support level. So this was that key support level of holding this wedge. And now we're going to look to see the continuation of this bounce that we're going to get. Or if are we going to retrace to retest the support once more. And if we end up breaking down, then we're testing support of the larger rising wedge. And that's not going to end up being good. So I expect to actually break this wedge, but I don't necessarily expect it to break it tomorrow. In essence, I do think that Amazon and Apple is going to be the ones to pull down the tech sector. It may be one, it may be the other, or it could be both. But I do expect that to end up happening come Thursday night into Friday morning, in which we end up breaking this wedge. So we can continue to go up, retest the resistance from the rising wedge going into tomorrow as we see that those names that I mentioned are going to pretty much lead the market, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, and we can continue this push here. But I know that some people are a little bit more bearish. They did consider this that we're going to end up breaking out of this wedge. We'll see if that ends up happening. I think morning gap up will likely tell the story here, and we'll keep it on watch. All right. Let's see the next one. Tesla. Tesla was pretty much my watch today. It actually made a little bit of an inside day here today, so I'll see what it does tomorrow. I don't think I'm necessarily going to be watching it too much. I did see 1100 calls coming in for Tesla. It looks like market makers really want to just push this up. I I actually really thought it was going to sell off into the end of the day, the last power hour of the day, and I thought we would end up seeing below 1020. That didn't end up happening. And so I did end up having what I would say is my demand zone again here, and we actually end up holding that demand zone. And I also drew out what I would say is a descending channel, in which we ended up holding. At first, I had a falling wedge until we continued to go sideways. Once we started going sideways, then it made a lot more sense that of this being a, a descending channel. So I'll see how this ends up. If we end up getting that pop to the upside, then it's likely that Tesla's going to join the party and likely lead the tech sector as well. But if we don't, if we pretty much gap down on this, then it's going to be further downside in which we're going to complete this gap fill down towards, this would be completed at 1021. We'll complete that gap fill. So I'll definitely keep it on watch. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to touch it per se, but I will keep it on watch, and that one will definitely either be going down to that gap fill I suggest at 1021, or we're going to end up seeing this push towards 1070 to 1100 tomorrow. It's up after hours. Yeah, actually Tesla did also get a upgrade. They had an upgrade from Piper Sanders. So it all depends. If the market actually ends up holding up, then that after hours action will hold up. If market doesn't hold up, then yeah, it's likely that that could just fade out, as we saw Tesla pretty much fade out today as well. It was up pre-market and it just faded. So that can end up easily happening again tomorrow. But we'll keep you posted on that one again on live tomorrow. See what the update is tomorrow on that one. I wanted to throw out McDonald's there. The only reason I wanted to throw it out is because obviously, one, it actually held up today despite the little sell-off that we had midday. But then also what this looks like to me, and I think it looks a little better on the 30 minute, is you have a nice little wedge formation going on here. So I do want to see how this wedge ends up playing out. And I think I could put it up to the top wick. Yeah. So I want to see how this wedge ends up playing out for McDonald's. Do we really get a continuation on McDonald's here to the upside? Or does this end up breaking down to the downside to fill the gap below? So just something to monitor. It'll be basically a directional move here. So you can easily get a directional move. And the good thing about McDonald's is that the premium is pretty much very cheap. You can pretty much get a call at the money for less than, I think, like $70 on McDonald's. And especially being that tomorrow's Thursday going into expiration day, the day after is going to be very cheap. So keep that one on watch. We can end up filling up the wick at the top up to a high of 244. If we end up breaking down, then again, the gap is in play. All right. So that's one I'll keep eyes on. Amazon. The reason I said that Amazon's likely to run is because now, as you see, there's a nice little inverted head and shoulders here on the 30 minute. The only thing that needs to confirm this inverse head and shoulders is the reversal right here into the morning gap up, in which we start pushing to curl up on that right shoulder. And then once we break this neckline right around the mark of, I want to say 34.38 to 34.40, once we break that level, then we can see this really start to push. And that'll be a beautiful movement. So this one will definitely be on my watch list. Now, the only thing, the downside about that is that the premiums are very expensive. It's like $5,000 to $6,000 in premium for strikes literally just at the money. And even going, I think about like 5 strikes out, it's still about $3,000 to $4,000. So insanely crazy on the premium. But I expect this one to push hard. So if you are able to put it in the budget, then definitely go for it. I don't suggest, if your portfolio size is not manageable, to put this in, and one contract is literally going to cost you over 50% of your portfolio. Definitely don't do that. Because I will tell you, especially when you touch names that are that high costing, like Amazon, Shop, Tesla, and you literally drop one call on that, and it's over 50% of your portfolio, you can literally get whipsawed within a matter of seconds. and that's not even minutes. So keep that in mind, but we'll see what this one does tomorrow. It may be just a watch and see play as it just moves like how Google did. And I think a lot of people actually watch Google rather than played Google today because that one was also a little costly. And it actually ripped out of the gate a lot faster than most expected. So keep it on watch. Retracing over to Google also, I did mention that we're going to see this movement. We're going to see a nice little reversal here, likely tomorrow. And we can see this push up to the 3,000 mark. That'll be a beautiful move here. I think that I'll actually put it, yeah, to put it close to another 80 point gain tomorrow. After pushing, yeah, it pushed already $138. So we're looking at about a $200 gain in 2 days, back to back here on Google. If it does end up pushing towards that 3,000. Now this one would be, I would prefer this one over Amazon, obviously because of the premium. So if you wanted to get an early entry on a big runner, it would my suggestion would be Google because it will cost you cheaper. You're gonna get a little bit further out of the money, obviously, and this will be a lot cheaper, and you still have a little bit more, somewhat similar upside as Amazon would potentially run tomorrow. All right, so keep that one. Definitely, if you're not gonna watch Amazon, obviously $5,000 to $6,000 contract. That's just insanely crazy. I wouldn't even do that myself. But Google would be my primary suggestion in terms of premium cost. All right. And then the last one I just wanted to throw out here that I actually found interesting was Morgan Stanley. Like I mentioned, I don't know exactly where the momentum is going to come from to supplement the tech sector running tomorrow, if be the case. Is it going to be energy, industrial, airlines, cruise lines, banks? But this is just one that caught my eye was Morgan Stanley. I saw a little bit of call volume. That was a little bit unusual for me. We have a nice little falling wedge action. And so I'm going to look to see this one get right over to the level of 103.07. If we end up rejecting there or if we break out, if we do end up breaking out, then I want to see this top out to that recent high of 103.81. All right. So we'll keep that one on watch. And then that will be a nice play. If I do see banks up, I will probably prefer to play Morgan Stanley over JPM and Goldman Sachs, just primarily because I like the setup. But that'll be a beautiful one. But other than that, I didn't have anything else on the watch list that I was primarily watching because it just looks a little bit manipulated today in terms of how everything was just slightly red to flat, and we just had just what about 4 to 5 major runners on the day. So I do want to see it's likely going to be some kind of V-shaped recovery if we end up seeing certain names run tomorrow, and that's not exactly something that I'm going to be looking to chart out from the night before. All right. Someone said to look at Twilio real quick. Didn't Twilio literally tank tonight? I thought it literally tanked. That literally tanked. I think what like $50 or something. That it was down. Actually, let me just check something on Twilio. Yeah, that was down like $45. Yikes. That is a horrible gap down. I'm probably gonna have to go out to the daily on this one just because of how much it dropped. So we ended up the day at 300. Wow, that even fell below the falling wedge. That is horrible. That is really disgusting. So where we are at right now, and I'll draw a line right across. We're at 320 right now. See where we are? Right around eyeball enough. I think that's close enough. So we literally skipped down the entire falling wedge that we ended up breaking out of, just so we can end up gapping all the way down. That is horrible. Let me see if I stretch out the entire chart here. Yeah, this looks horrible. So if I do see continued downside, then what I'm really looking at is testing this level of 283. That would be the next level of support that I'm watching. Is this 283 level? That would be where you would get puts for a continuation if we end up seeing further downside. I mean, beyond that, I wouldn't expect it to break beyond that because that would be pretty outrageous. But if I'm looking for my next level of support, I think you're gonna hold right on here. This will likely act as your demand zone right here. I could have just drew a box, but between these two orange lines below, that would be your demand zone that you're looking at in which buyers will likely step in. I don't expect a further collapse than that. But that will be the level between the level of 283 and the low of 260. 271, I apologize. So 271 to 283, that will be the range that you're looking at for your demand zone. All right. And hopefully someone steps in to buy Twilio because that was a horrible drop. To be down $45? Yikes. And I thought this was actually going to $400 before earnings. Psych. That didn't happen. But that kind of wraps it up tonight. Wow, you guys just dropped me two more. All right, I'm gonna do those two more tickers, and then we're gonna call it a night. Let me see. You mentioned snow. Every time I keep forgetting about this ticker, and I don't understand why I keep forgetting about it. But I did have this level marked up from a while ago, and it didn't save on my chart. But I was actually eyeballing this level right around the 360, 361 mark. That was my overall target on snow. That's exactly where I was targeting because obviously you do have a nice little rounding bottom going into snow here. That's just a beautiful rounding bottom. It's literally nothing stopping it. Not even the market stopped it today. This is actually one that did have a decent move. They pushed almost $5. So I expect continuation on this one. It'll get a nice little push right up into that 361 area. And to be honest with you, I don't even think it'll probably take more than what the next 2 to 3 market days for this to probably end up reaching that resistance. And then over that resistance, then you're potentially looking at all-time highs. But you may have one more stop right around the area of right around 390 would be your next stop of resistance before the all-time highs. So 361, 390, then you're looking at all-time highs in which this pushed 429. Wow. All right. So that'll be a beautiful one. Definitely, you as always keep a stop loss for any reason. But this is a beautiful one here. Actually, my support level that I'm looking at right now is right around 341.82. So that looks like a beautiful support level to me, in which that will keep this actual curled bottom right intact. All right. And then the last one, real quick, the CEO stepped down. Oh, that's what it was. All right. I didn't really check out the news on Twilio. Hopefully they step into that demand zone. I mean, I don't see a reason why they don't. If all pretty much the fundamentals were good about it, they beat. Hopefully they raise guidance also. Then I don't see a reason. I think that drop is pretty much overdone, and that could easily end up getting bought up. Then if that's the case, I just peeped Snow. What was the other one? Oh, Chewy. Chewy just this one just keeps declining. So what I did have is I was pretty much drawing out a descending channel on Chewy, and I hate looking at this yellow. My bad. I gotta change this yellow. It's hurting my eyes looking at this yellow. All right, I changed the gray. All right, so I drew it out as a descending channel, and I'm really just looking to get to this gap fill. This is really what I've just been waiting on. I haven't necessarily looked to play Chewy until it gets towards this gap fill because everything else is pretty much it feels to me like just chop and sideways movement basically, right? But we also had another little descending channel here as well, and it looks like I looked at it just recently. But we had another descending channel right here in which we ended up breaking out of. And if I'm not mistaken, Sig actually got into this not that long ago. So it possibly was on the break of this descending channel on this minor one. And he probably got a nice move. I know that he was up on this trade. That I know for certain. He ended up closing out green. So that was a perfect move for him. Now looking at the next potential target area is that you also have another gap fill right in this area. So if we're able to hold, and if I'm looking at a support level that I do want to hold, then let's see the support level that I'm wanting to hold. I'm looking to hold 65.88. So 65.88 would be my support on Chewy, and that would then propel us going into, if we can hold that uptrend, then we're looking at pushing into over 72.80 to get into this gap fill. So that gap fill is right around that 73 mark is what you're looking at. All right. But you definitely want to have a support line intact. And so if I'm looking at a very key support level, it's right around this area in which that was 65.80 is what I'm looking at for that support level. All right. But I do like Chewy. It's just it hasn't been trading the same. I used to trade this a lot before this entire run up. I would trade the entire move on Chewy. and I think also on Snap. Those were my two favorite growth stocks when we were pretty much pushing heavily on the early stages of the pandemic. But now that it's actually on the backside of the pandemic, price action here you can see is fairly weak. But hopefully we get into the gap fill. If we're able to get over that gap fill, then I was really eyeing this major gap fill here. Over 70, over 81.37. That was going to be the gap fill I looked at to break out of the actual channel that I had presented here. All right. But that kind of wraps up tonight, guys. Hopefully, we get some better price action tomorrow on a broader perspective. Today just felt like you had to be very selective in what names you really chose to put your money into. Because imagine looking at a name thinking that Apple's was going to be strong and it literally just stayed flat all day, moving by pennies. So hopefully the price action is going to be tomorrow better on a broader perspective in different sectors, and we'll have some better price action there to get some day trades in. All right. Other than that, thanks guys for joining in. I don't, Tom, I don't know, I don't believe that he's going to be having a session tonight. Later on, it may be possibly tomorrow. Well, I don't know if it's even going to be tomorrow, but he'll keep you guys posted on his next live session. I know that he took like about 2 hours, went through about like 500 tickers last night. Insanely crazy. But I know that he's gonna do it again. I just don't know exactly what specific day he's planning on do it. I know that he'll make an announcement for you guys and put that out there. But you guys go enjoy. I'll see you guys tomorrow and on live. And tomorrow is Thursday. We do have jobless claims tomorrow morning. Not that it's really gonna impact anything, but eh, CVS. Literally, I can literally just message Tom right now and ask him for a chart on CVS, but only because I know that I actually have it charted. It's breaking out of a beautiful wedge. That's why Tom actually got into it. It broke out of a beautiful wedge. If I was looking at my target zone, it's right around here, which we pretty much ended up reaching today practically. We wicked right into it. So now the next thing you're looking at, actually next resistance level. Yeah, this would be actually a nice resistance level. Right around the 90-10 mark would be your next resistance level. And after that, then it's likely in terms that you're going to end up chopping. And earnings next week, if I'm not mistaken, will be the determining factor if it ends up pushing all-time highs yet again. All right. CVS to 100. PW, you literally sound like Tamakaze. I'm not even gonna respond to that. But I'll see you guys in chat tomorrow, guys. Have a good night, and that wraps it up for tonight.